Well, hello everyone. How are you doing? We're going to get right into it, but I do need to do some intro stuff for those of you who are pretty much part of this show family. I did get the other monitor working, so my screen real estate is a lot less stressful. However, you might notice that the video quality is not what it usually is. My iPhone, which has great quality, all of a sudden will not do video properly. Can't figure out why, still troubleshooting it. So I'm using just an old, it's not that old, but a Logitech webcam, which of course isn't as good. I will be working on correcting that. I might need to just buy a really good webcam, rather than relying on my phone. That's all we're going to do by way of introductory stuff. At least not the typical introductory stuff, but I'm going to, hold on, I'm looking here. Oh, here we go. Let me stick this up here. Why not? Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And you can follow me on Twitter at Karen Ann Harlos. But what is I going to say? Last but not least, that's what I was going to say. I really would appreciate your support on Patreon at patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty, or you can become one of the members of my YouTube channel, and you do get bonus content. I have a couple other channels. One is Jurassic Dictionary, where in these other two channels, well, there's actually three. I know, I'm addicted, but the two I'm talking about now, the videos are all 10 minutes or less, so they're much shorter than these. And Jurassic Dictionary, I try to do it weekly. I've got one that I'm doing post-production on this evening. They come out over the weekend. We just look at rare and unusual words. And then also my other channel is Pink Parliamentarian. So if you're interested in learning more in easily digestible bits about Robert's Rules of Order, it's probably all libertarians are getting all moist right now. You could go to that channel and check it out. I was going to be doing a show this week on the intrinsically irrelevant negative vote, but I decided instead, because I think it's really timely, to do a show on what are the qualifications for being the chair of an assembly. So, and that obviously, timely for people who are in my same circles, but it's also just a really good basic subject for that show. And as Nathan in chat reminded me, another long form, definitely not safe for work channel is the Cult of RONR, which is more parliamentary procedure, because yes, that's my kink, but that's me and Mike Seaback, and we just have a good time vibing off each other. All right, let's get right into the subject. I used to do these once or twice a week, and everything has just been so crazy really since August that I just haven't had the time, and to be honest with you, I haven't had the passion. So I'm trying to reignite the fire. So here we go. We're getting one out at least every issue. That's what I was trying to look at. So we're on the January-February 1977 issue of LP News to take a look back in time as to what was going on at the party then. I haven't read this. We're going to be flipping through it here. I'm going to highlight some things because it might be the only time we're covering this issue. There is something super cool on the back cover. So like I always do, here we go. I have a copy of it up here, and you'll notice right here on the front page, this is so cool. You know how we have annual conventions? Well, apparently in 1977, they also had regional conferences, and we'll probably get into that a little bit. So that's on page 1. On page 2, I love this article at the top. This is probably going to be the one I'm going to read, but we'll see. Now more than ever, a need for the LP. That's also quite timely. Oh, check it out. There's a note here about an LNC meeting. And notice they call it National Committee here. Remember in all past episodes, they called the National Committee the Executive Committee. So, we're probably going to need to do a few shows because these old issues are just densely packed. So, look at this. The U.S. energy crisis, the real story. Now, I don't remember what year it was, but I remember the energy crisis of the 70s. I was a little capitalist back then. Those of you who are younger wouldn't have lived through this, but there were gas lines going around whole neighborhoods. Like you could be in line for gas for hours. And you want to know what my little booty did? And I was about 10, if we're talking in the late 70s. So between 10 and 12, I got out a cart with a cooler full of sodas and I went car to car selling sodas. I'm surprised the feds didn't come for me. By the way, I did do a FOIA request on myself. And I don't know whether to say I'm relieved I'm not on any lists or if I'm disappointed. I don't know what it is yet, but let's just say I wasn't on any list. And I'm somewhat surprised that there wasn't, because I know there is an FBI record, but it's probably expired many years ago. Let's say, let me go back in time. Was it 20 years ago? It's probably going on 20 years now. I was the victim of a cyber stalker before that word was even a word. It was really serious. There was a FBI report on it. They gave me the protocols of how to handle it with my work. It was actually pretty scary. And I thought some of those files would come back on the FOIA request. But because it all eventually ended, there never was any kind of criminal prosecution or anything like that. Those records are probably expired. But I halfway expected that to come back, but it did not. I've talked about that on other shows before. Okay, check this out. The draft drums are beating. Unfortunately, that will not become very timely. Now, here's some of the really cool stuff I wanted to show you. First of all, check out that title up at the top there. Libertarian Group in Mensa. Oh boy. The INTJ is strong with them. But I more wanted to look at that ad at the bottom there. You can barely see it, but if you go to LPD and look up that issue, there's a really cool old convention picture right in the middle there. And you could see that you could order the audio tapes. Oh, I should have brought over a set because I have this 1977 or whatever year this was. This had to be the 76 convention. They used to do them yearly. It's from the 80s, but they were still selling audio tapes. Now, check this. State LPs plan new projects. And emphasis on recruiting and fundraising. Libertarian Health Association formed. Now, you want to know what I love about this stuff, and this isn't to criticize anyone or put anyone down or anything like that. But it is a lesson in humility. And it's something I used to say all the time when I used to do a theological podcast. Yes, I've been doing this sort of thing for a while. It's whenever you think, particularly if you're in an organization or in a religion or whatever it might be, unless you just started your own cult and it's brand new and you're the prophet, if you're in something, a movement of whatever kind, that's been around for a while, and you come up with some great idea and you think you're the first person to come up with it, 99.9% chance you are wrong. Because no matter how smart you think you are, there's somebody smarter. That goes for me, that goes for you. Now, there are some great groups in the libertarian space working on health and medical freedom. Not necessarily in the LP, though I do believe there is one in the LP, but just in the general liberty space. And there are other kinds of groups, and a lot of times you will hear that people who are really into these say or insinuate that this is the first time this has happened. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. So we're looking at the 70s here, and there was, we might read this at some point and see what the issues were then. I can tell you in the 70s, what was a big issue was involuntary commitment. Now, I don't know if this is going to be dealing with mental health issues or whatever, but I know that was a big issue in the 70s. And look, individual states hold key to LP growth. I like this very inclusive title here, a role for every LP member this year. I would love to see that kind of attitude return. This is a blast from the past. Speakers Bureau, the missing link. This is not something that current state LPs do. And a more modern form of it might be a good idea. But every state LP used to have a speakers bureau. And there would be a regular roster of people that you could get to come talk on topics. That way you're not like scrambling as to who's going to be our convention speaker, whatever. You're like, oh, this convention we want to focus on, like we said before, maybe health, liberty and health. And you would have a speakers bureau of contacts that you can count on particular topics. But here, to me, this was the best find so far. You ready? You might not get as excited about this as I am, but check out this ad for the 1977 convention, 6th Annual National Convention, Turning Point 1977. Now, I want to know if we knew that name. I'm going to Lpedia right now because every convention had a theme. Like last convention was Become Ungovernable, and we didn't know all the themes for all of them. So I want to see. So this one was Turning Point, and I want to see if on Lpedia we knew that was. Yes, I'm going to show you guys this. I like pulling up Lpedia when we're here. So let me, hold on. I'm going to, why didn't that screen come up? 1 second. For some reason, when I went full screen, it didn't want to do anything. So let's go back. Okay, now let me share my, nope, that's not it. You see me twice. I'm doubled. Why isn't that working? Oh, current application primary display. And let's go here. Are you, I don't think you're seeing my screen. Huh. Well, we're not gonna mess around with it. If you go over to Lpedia, you will see that we did know it was Turning Point 1977, and there's a great a different image than this. Let me check. Yeah, it has an image. I think it was. There's an image of a bridge. Looks like San Francisco Bridge. It's a Sheraton Palace Hotel. There's a really cool picture of a suspension bridge on the cover of the book. Let's see where. Yep, San Francisco. It looked like San Francisco. Okay, so I just love that ad, and I'm going to stick that into the article. And you can see at, let me see, 1 second here. To get on the mailing list, you had to enclose $1. That's what's in that corner at the bottom. That's pretty funny. and July 14th through 17th. So that's about the same length of conferences, or excuse me, conventions that we have now. Okay, let's go back to the main screen here. Do not like the color balance on this camera. Here's another one. I like this color balance actually better. So I've got another camera right there. Right there. So you get another view, but you can tell, look at the color is just so different. So I'm going to go to that article that I wanted to go to, and hopefully we'll do some more time capsules out of here. But if there was anything that I showed you that piqued your interest, go to lpedia.org, look up LP News, and then you can find the first issue of 1977. But what we're going to read is an article from Ed Crane, and the title, and he was the chair, and the title is Now More Than Ever, a Need for the LP. So let's see what he has to say. These are not the best reading glasses. All right. Okay. Oh my God. I am getting old. I used to bring out, oh, I've got my magnifying glass. Hold on a second. Ah. Okay, look. The batteries are dead on it. But hey, I spy. No, that's not working out really well either. All right, I'm just gonna do the granny read. So it's in San Francisco. It says, what was the old Tricky Dick campaign slogan? Now more than ever? That statement surely didn't accurately reflect the desirability of extending the duration of Nixon's reign. But it does strike me as a singularly, that's a word we don't use enough today, and most people don't even know how to properly use that word. Who used to, you want to know why I love that word singularly so much, is if you're a Jane Austen fan, that's used in her books quite frequently. So singularly accurate statement of the need for a Libertarian Party as we enter our 6th year of existence. Now we're in over 50 years, and I am using the magnifying glass. The print on this is so small, and this was 12 pages long with that tiny print. Back then, Libertarians liked a lot of information. Now you can barely keep their attention for a tweet. But anyway, yeah, I sound like an old lady. Those kids, it wasn't like that in my day. Okay. When the idea for a libertarian political party first emerged from the Rocky Mountains in 1971, it was obvious. This is really bad print. Oh my God. It was obvious those of us who, I'm having to close one eye like I'm shooting, who believed in a consistent, oh my God, this is bad, adherence to the principles of human liberty could find no home in the then existent parties. To be sure, there was plenty of skepticism about our potential for success. I doubt that anyone at our first convention envisioned we'd be number 3 party by 1976, but there was no doubt. There's some weird noise behind me. Oh, this is coming out. Oh no, the bottom part is, I'm gonna have to re-glue it. I'm sorry. My thing back here, it has a weight on the bottom, and it seems all floppy because the glue's coming off the bottom. That was a gift from members of the Libertarian Party of Wisconsin years ago, if you're wondering where I got that banner. Okay, but there was no doubt about the need for an LP, and there still is a need for an LP today. Today, and he goes on to say that, but he's talking about today in 1970s. Oh my God, that noise, that crinkling noise behind me is getting me. Today, the need is all the more acute. For if the Democrats and Republicans presented a pathetic alternative for libertarians in 1971, consider the state of affairs today. And I'm going to say that now. I'm not trying to be harsh to those of you who got caught up in the excitement and hopped on the Trump train. But I really hope you're starting to see that the authoritarian right is just another flavor of authoritarianism, and they're just getting started. And if you're applauding all of that, listen, Trump is going to do some good things. No, nobody, as I said, there's no demons or angels in this world. But on whole, it's not going to be a net benefit for liberty because he's an authoritarian. And if all of a sudden you're abandoning core libertarian principles because you like one or two things he's doing, and I say this without shade, maybe you're not a libertarian. Maybe you are and just confused. I'm not the great judge, who sifts the heart of men before my judgment seat as to whether you are or not. I'm asking you to examine your own self. And if it turns out you're not, it's not like somebody ran over your dog. Everyone has different views. Bloom where you're planted, I guess. Okay, I'm just riffing hard with the biblical references here, aren't I? Okay. It says at least the two major parties paid lip service to supposed philosophical differences between them 6 years ago. Now there are no such pretenses. My God, this is so difficult to read. Only claims of technocratic superiority. The not so memorable presidential debates revealed not a single solitary policy difference between this year's Carter and last year's Ford. Now, there certainly are policy differences between the left and the right here. They're just different sides of authoritarianism. They're both authoritarian. And I don't care to pick my preferred flavor of authoritarianism because I don't favor any authoritarianism. Man, I am trying to figure out the best way to be able to read this. That ain't it either. This is really, really terrible print, or my eyes have gotten worse since the last time I've done this. And it wouldn't surprise me if that happened because I have really terrible vision. If you wish to vote for a major party, you have but one choice. The reprocrats with one program, corporate statism. Indeed, the unanimity, and I never can pronounce that word, of support for the grand alliance between big business and big government extends from the left wing of the Democrats to the right wing of the Republicans. The rhetoric may differ, the policies do not. Take it or leave it, or join the Libertarian Party. Perhaps the LP is still too small to be recognized by our enemy, the state, to borrow from Albert J. Nock, as a serious threat that I am convinced we represent. Sometime in the not-too-distant future, though, the opponents in this great struggle will come into clearer focus. It will be us against them, not us joining them. He didn't say that second part, I did. Libertarians against status. That's really the contrast. It's not, do you like Republicans better? Do you like Democrats better? It's authoritarianism versus libertarianism. It's libertarians versus status. Period. Yes, it is that simple. The status may be morally weak, but politically, they're strong as hell. What the hell? They're the professional Republicans and Democrats and big businessmen. The corporate state is now secure in the railroad, airline, television, trucking, and public utility industries. There are no major industries in which its death grip on consumers is not tightening. The next group attempting to envelope itself in the competition my God, in the competition-proof protection of the feds is the oil industry. You want to talk about protectionism? What is peak protectionism? T-A-R-R-I. Okay, tariffs. That is like peak protectionism. A closer examination of the fabricated oil crisis that is being used as an excuse for the state to protect the producer from the consumer reveals that all parties to the statist coalition are right in step. For all I know, they even use the same speechwriter. The Republicans, I am proposing a comprehensive national energy program, says President Ford, in rubber stamping Nelson Rockefeller's $100 billion plan to subsidize the oil companies. The Democrats, we will have a comprehensive long-range energy policy, says President Carter in his first news conference. It's going to require substantial sacrifices on the part of the American people, Jimmy continued, but I'll try to make sure that it's fair and comprehensive. And Ed Crane puts in, swell. Oh boy. Big business. What we need is a comprehensive national energy policy, says Thornton Bradshaw, president of Atlantic Richfield, in his recent Fortune magazine article entitled, My Case for National Planning. Ask Thor, how can wild fluctuations in supply and demand be controlled as to guarantee an orderly market? Answers Thor, discussions of such magnitude can only be made at the highest level of government, which should first set a goal for crude oil production and then set a price that makes it possible to meet that goal. Terrible. Okay. Thor's article is riddled with cries for price supports, subsidies, and monopoly protection. You get the idea, so I won't bother you with further details. One quote I can't let pass, however, which has earned Thor the coveted John Kenneth Galbraith Annual Award for the public statement reflecting the greatest ignorance of economics. The free market mechanism never has worked for oil because there always has been too much oil or too little. Really? He said that. Perhaps it's not quite fair to say the LP is the only alternative to the ugly triumvirate described above. There is the conservative third-party movement, which sports its own populist brand of corporate statism, along with the added kicker of a more explicit advocacy of imperialism. Greenland for sale? The modern manifest destiny? All in the name of security. The only thing that would make it more classic statism if they said, we need Greenland because think of the children. Okay, where I gotta find my spot here. Its leading spokesman, William Rusher, of the close-cropped hair and mind. Close-cropped mind. Oh my God, close-cropped hair and mind. That's a great insult. Did I ever tell you what my favorite insult is? I've said this on Twitter, but it still cracks me up. So you all have to suffer through it. It's when you say to somebody, who is this clown? Because not only are you calling him a clown, you're saying they're not even a famous clown. Okay. That's my favorite insult. When the minute I didn't come up with that, somebody and I was like, oh my God, that's freaking hilarious. All right. Gotta find my spot again, old lady. It says Rusher's not embarrassed by, oh no, we missed that. Okay. Close-minded hair and mind recently complained that the pointy-headed liberals decided to slash the military budget so deeply that we lost de facto control of the Middle East. Rusher's not embarrassed by such statement because he's convinced that God is an American. As I said earlier about the need for the Libertarian Party, now more than ever, as a Libertarian Party, not as the JV Republican Party. And in earlier times, when the party was swinging left, not as the JV Democrat Party. Just be libertarian. To channel the late Mark Feldman, be that libertarian. Not that begging for scraps from the Republican Party libertarian. Not that libertarian. All right, that's all we're going to do for tonight, because I'm either really tired or I'm going to need to get this up on a screen and blown up really big so you guys don't need to suffer through my poor eyesight. But I'm really happy to be back in the history saddle, and the show is just over 30 minutes, which I think is a good length. So once again, if you appreciate my work, please go to patreon.com/Pink Flame of Liberty, or just do it through YouTube and become a channel member. I would really, really appreciate it. And that's going to be it for this evening. Look out this weekend for new episodes of Jurassic Dictionary and Pink Parliamentarian. Mike and I will not be doing Cult of R1R because there is an LNC meeting on Sunday night. And Sunday night is the night we do it, when we do it. That sounded filthy. That's not what I meant. All right, everyone. I hope you have an awesome night. And yeah, I probably will not be streaming again until next week, but those shows will be coming out and you get a sneak peek of them if you're a patron or a channel member. All right. Bye-bye. Mi guapas de libertad.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in the business, not because they want to